Recording in progress.
Okay, we're ready. All right, welcome to the Village of Cottage Grove Village Board of Trustees meeting on Monday, April 20th, 2026. This is a hybrid meeting, both virtually on Zoom with the link at the top of the agenda and in person at Village Hall, and also streamed on our YouTube channel. It is 6:30, so I'll call the meeting to order. We have a quorum and the agenda was properly posted, so we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, so we're at the public appearances, public's opportunity to speak. We'll start with individuals in the room and then move to anyone on Zoom and just ask that you keep your comments to 3 minutes. Does anyone in the room would like to speak for public comment? Is there anyone on Zoom? You can raise your hand using the react button at the bottom. All right. We'll move on to discuss and consider the minutes of the village board meeting from April 6th, 2026.
I'd make the motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion by Murphy, second by Severson. Any discussion, comments, or edits? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Move on to new business. Discuss and consider Resolution 2026-07, appreciation for service to Peter Dahl.
I would move approval of Resolution 2026-07, appreciation of service to Peter Dahl.
Second.
Motion by Murphy, second by Severson.
I would just like to express my appreciation to the village staff for the 2 years I've been on the board, and certainly to everybody on the board itself. I mean, the last year has been tough, and I would just hope that the village board never has to go with an empty seat moving forward. So hopefully that doesn't occur. But again, thanks to the village staff, particularly Cameron, for all the assistance and time that you spent helping educate me on public finance to complement my private sector finance. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Pete.
I'd just like to say to Pete, obviously, thank you for your service to the board. It was fun watching you do math in your head that would have taken me days to do. Gonna miss that, but also thank you for all the time for EMS, because you also served as EMS commission chair this year, so that was an extra load. So I wanted to say thank you for that as well.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right, discuss and consider Fireman's Festival parade route and timing changes. We have a festival chair, Laufenberg, here. Why don't you just give us an update? I know we had a meeting about it, but tell the board about some changes.
Pleasant greetings, everyone. When it came time to reserve the parking lots for the parade this year, the Cottage Grove School will be using those parking lots for the construction. They'll be doing around their school. Try to think of several other ways to set the parade up. I know in years past we've used Ollie Street, we've used Taylor Street, but with what happened in Waukesha and other concerns and whatnot, we didn't think that was quite feasible. The Monona Parade, they do shut down the parade route, Monona Drive, about an hour early, and then they put up all the parade floats. You find your number, parade starts, everyone just kind of flows out and, on the parade route. We ran it past the fire board, got approval of one plan. We brought that plan to Cindy and to Chief Gary. We ran it through them at the safety meeting and kind of fine-tuned it a little bit. We'll be shutting down Main Street or hoping to shut down Main Street. Instead of 11:30, shut it down at 11. Traffic would flow in, so like the parade participants would flow north to south from Cottage Grove Road. We would shut down from kind of BB to Taylor Street as a soft shutdown. Hard shutdown would be, Chief Gary could figure it out too, just south of the Authentics entrance to like Taylor, kind of creating a safe box where the parade participants can go get and line up in order. Kind of a safe zone. At 11:50, everything would get shut down, and then at noon, the parade would start from Taylor Prairie and proceed south. Kind of like what Monona Drive does in sort of a smaller type aspect. Anything you want to add, Chief?
No, you covered it.
Okay.
So because it's a deviation from the special event permit,
Yeah.
you just wanted to make sure the board was aware.
Yep, and then Cindy had the idea of putting a sign up, big sign up that says parade starts here, right at the corner of Taylor Prairie and Main Street, so people would line up from there and kind of go south.
Questions or comments for Kevin?
I guess thanks for the flexibility and
Yeah.
problem solving ahead. And yeah, that's a good idea. So then participants, like spectators, know where to start lining up. So I would make a motion to approve the parade route and timing changes for Fireman's Festival Parade.
Second.
Motion by Murphy, second by Severson. I take the whole night tonight, ladies. Any other comments, questions? There's all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Thanks for
Thank
coming,
you.
Kevin.
Yep.
All right, moving on to letter C. Discuss and consider requests from Summit Credit Union for a temporary no parking on Landmark Drive for their Shred Fest event. And that's in September. There's a document in the agenda as well.
And Allison is online if she wants to say anything, I'm not sure.
Hello.
Hi, Allison.
Hi. I'm the events manager at Summit Credit Union in Paula. I had no idea you were on the board here in Cottage Grove, so nice to see you, coworker, friend of mine. But yeah, so I'm willing to answer any questions or discuss this further if there are any questions or need for more information.
And there were no comments from village staff on it either.
None for Public Works either.
Okay.
I would move approval of the request from Summit Credit Union for the temporary no parking on Landmark Drive on Saturday, September 26th as presented.
I will second.
Ooh, motion by Murphy, second by Dahl. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
I abstain.
Okay, motion carries. D, discuss and consider block party application from Randy Becker at the 200 block of Maria Lane. The application is in the agenda.
I just wanted to point out, previously you may have seen where you had the actual application in the packet. We are trying to go away from that for the reason being that information isn't put out onto our website unnecessarily. So that's why you saw a memo instead of the application. So I just wanted to explain that.
I would move approval of the block party application from Randy Becker at the 200 block of Maria Lane.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Severson, second by Dahl. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. All right, reports from village boards, commissions, and committees. So we had Plan Commission that met on Wednesday, April 8th at 6:30, and we have one discuss and consider in the agenda tonight for the approval of a zero lot line application to split a duplex. During the actual Plan Commission, we also had a presentation from a UW professor for planning and landscape architecture on the Door Creek Greenway project. And if you have time, I suggest going and either watching that presentation or kind of looking through the agenda and clicking on some of those documents. We then also had a concept presentation from Lennar for a 162-unit single-family home for feedback only, and this is the subdivision on Ridge Road going out Taylor. That was pretty much it for Plan Commission. Aaron, did I miss anything for Plan Commission? Otherwise, you can tell us about the zero lot line.
No, I think we can just go to the zero lot line. Pretty straightforward, just the standard conditions. One, that they record their maintenance agreement at the Register of Deeds. Then the second condition was getting approval from the Utility Commission, but that has happened since the Plan Commission met, so that's already taken care of.
I'll make a motion to approve the zero lot line duplex application by Magestro.
Second.
All right, motion by Dahl, second by Severson. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. The library board. So the library board met on Wednesday, April 15th. We discussed our ongoing edits to our FAQ document, which is really large and needs to be kind of pared down a bit. Also, happy Library Week, Find Your Joy 2026, to all those who are celebrating this week. We canceled the August 19th meeting. We have a small change in how we're going to operate with vendor payments just to make things a little bit more efficient. And then we discussed programming and our summer reading program. And our next meeting is Wednesday, May 20th. That's all for the library board. If there's no questions, we can move on to EMS.
Okay, EMS met in Deerfield on April 16th at 6:30. We did have Dan Barker, the Deer Grove EMS attorney, or present at the meeting, because we did have a number of items that certainly would have dragged on if we didn't have his counsel at the discussion. So we did start off with his items, which was item 11. We talked about the Deer Grove EMS IGA, and there was, or has been over the last several months, some questions on section 202L, which is regards to the request of commission members for legal counsel. And the way the IGA is written, it's less than 2 hours, it can be forwarded. And I think I've spoken with you, Rick, and we did speak with Dan, and it's not super clear. I think some of the commission members were of the opinion that it needs to be approved by the commission, and other feedback that we've gotten is less than 2 hours does not, similar to the legal support that we get on the board. So we did talk about that. There is some plans to bring that forward and modify the IGA to clarify that language. What I had proposed is that less than a certain amount of time, half hour, whatever, that commission members could make a request. And the pushback by some of the other commission members from other communities were just use your village or your municipal attorney. So, I think it'll be interesting to see where that goes, and because that's going to be coming forward. And I do think that since we do pay nearly 60% of the costs to operate the Deer Grove EMS, I think it's reasonable to say that commission members, and it's not just the Cottage Grove, Village of Cottage Grove commission members, but also the other communities, to have a certain amount of legal guidance on issues as they pop up before it actually goes to the board for approval. So we spent a lot of time talking about that. So there will be a potential modification of the IGA, which obviously would need to be approved by all three municipalities as a part of the IGA. So then we moved on and we spoke about the pet policy. So Chief Lang had been, I think he sort of adopted, or he was awarded a service animal, and he had put together a policy that we talked about at the meeting. There is obviously a lot of issues surrounding that, because you have the animal policy, but then you've got two departments sharing a building, and that department and that building itself essentially has two communities as the landlord. So there was a lot of discussion around that. I think the commission arrived at this point in time, no pets. We're not going to have a pet policy where you can bring your pet to work. There was some strong support around having a service animal or not emotional support, but a service animal, a therapy dog, right? So Chief calls it a service dog, but essentially the purposes of what he's going to use it for is a therapy dog. For him himself, it would be a personal support animal. So as far as this topic goes, the plan was the three chiefs, that would be the Deer Grove chief, Eric, and the village of Deerfield, Josh, and the village of, the town, our joint chief, Nick, to get together and talk about how a policy would work, how both departments could support that, and that would come forward in the next meeting from those three chiefs as an agreement to potentially allow a service animal or a therapy dog. So it was a good discussion. It went on for a long time, but I think we arrived at the right next steps. And then we went on and talked about the typical items, the bills, the financials. There was one hardship write-off that was approved. And then we had a presentation on the draft financial audit by Johnson Block. Things look good. And then EMSMC did an overview of their process. And then we adjourned. Any questions? It was a long meeting. The longest Deer Grove meeting I think I've been in. So.
I didn't realize you had a presentation too after. I was on the call for a little bit. I hung up at 8, so I don't know what time you guys got done.
Can I just follow up? So I think one of the things, and I don't know who, Heidi, were you on the board when they renegotiated the last IGA? So the EMS attorney kind of said that he thought the clause about contacting the attorney was kind of what the village was wanting, because obviously in our case, we have the ability to reach out to our attorneys, and he thought that that was some of the language that the village was wanting. But I voted against limiting that and rewriting that piece because 2 reasons. One, I think the EMS commissioners should have the rights that we do, right, to be able to utilize our legal counsel, and particularly for new members. But 2, it's also the cost of doing business as an EMS service. Like, we shouldn't be paying an assessment and then paying Rick to answer the question that really is for the EMS attorney. So I think there's going to be more conversation about this, but hopefully somebody can dig back as to those negotiations and the recollections.
I think some of the concerns were how the Deer Grove EMS attorney it depends on what they're being asked about. If it's really something that a municipal attorney should be answering on behalf of how, each entity as a elected body feels about Deer Grove EMS versus if it's a Deer Grove EMS issue that should be that attorney, and whether the village should pay for a question that another municipality has about the IGA. So I think yes, it could be clarified further, but I think if we're paying 60%, are we somehow supplementing another municipality's legal advice? I think that was probably more of the concern at the time, whether, how we, hindsight's 20/20, you keep, that's why you keep renegotiating IGAs too.
Was the spirit of the language back when it was put together, and as you read it, it's not the cleanest language that I've ever seen. Was the spirit to allow commission members to have an initial consult on a legal issue no matter what, before it would go to the board for approval? Because it does talk, if it's more than 2 hours, it needs formal commission approval. So it's really nebulous.
So I have to be a little bit careful on how deep we go into the conversation. I did take a look at previous versions. So when we renegotiated it in 2021 or whatever, that was already an existing piece of it. So I think it predated.
Carried over.
Yeah, it was just something that was from previous agreements. So I don't know when it originally came from, but that was just something that stuck in.
It sounds like maybe some edits will come back to us just in that portion, but not revisiting the whole IGA.
No.
Okay, just want to also put that out there, that there was some concern about that, and I received some concern about that, and that we're really on board with just minor edits to that one specific section. Yep. Okay. Anything else for EMS? All right. Reports from village officers. Village attorney.
So nothing for tonight. Next meeting, I'm going to have a little bit of a legislative update just because there were a few bills signed into law at the end of the session that affect local governments. So, and some of them are pretty significant, at least on the planning side of things. So And then I think after that, we'll just have sort of like some refresher presentations that are, we'll see what the agendas are like, but just some updates on open meetings, records, things like that, just because we have some new board members coming on. So always good just to get a little tune up for everybody.
And then Matt's administrative report and tracker, he's out of the office, so he is absent and excused from this meeting, but it'll return at the next meeting. Communication and miscellaneous business, consider approval of vouchers.
You have an attachment, one related to a police station pay app. One of the things that Matt and I talked about was including kind of a summary of, regardless if we've accepted a change order, that we describe if we've accepted or rejected one. So there are 3 change orders that are listed on the bottom of that summary, of which 1 the board denied, and then 2 pay request number 1 and 3. Change order 1 and 3 that we denied as staff. Really, the only effect of denying the 3rd pay request was potentially with how wet it's been. We didn't feel like it was necessary to spend $30,000 for a temporary road and stone to keep on a specific timeline. So we ultimately thought that passing on that would be in the village's best interest. It has since dried out, so not as concerned that the timeline is going to be materially affected, but we'll keep the board updated. Other than that, there was a couple questions that came through on the bills list that I sent out earlier today, but up to any other questions that you have.
What was the $61,000 site logistics change order for? I didn't quite understand.
So
the
the first pay request, the first change order that we rejected, the plan was to try to keep the construction traffic off of the newly constructed Bonnie Road. At that price tag, that slight change was not worth it. What we can do for patching and repairing that section that was repaved was much cheaper than that. So we ultimately decided that that was not in the village's best interest.
That's great. You know, the thing is, I mean, obviously questioning all these change orders, and they're going to keep coming, absolutely keep coming. So it's just good to see that you're thinking through them. And
yeah, and I think setting the tone that
Yep.
we're not gonna say, unless it's in the best interest for the village, it's
Yep.
not.
Yep.
All right, let's discuss and consider.
I would move approval of the vouchers as presented.
And I'll second.
All right, motion by Murphy, motion by Severson, second by Murphy. Any other comments or question on the bills list? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Motion carries. Correspondence, Cameron, you want to give us an update on the school board meetings?
Yeah, so the school board, the last year, they kind of piloted having board meetings here at Village Hall every other month. They reached out and requested to do that similarly for the upcoming year. We responded and said that that's not a problem at this time. If it becomes an issue, we can reach out to them, but as of right now, we don't have any concerns.
Any other correspondence?
I was just going to
questions
ask,
about
did we resolve the issue with the recording and their media folks?
Yep,
Okay.
we've finally kind of got a solution to making sure it doesn't cause any disruptions at village board and committee meetings.
that? Any other correspondence? Upcoming community events.
The Cottage Grove Area Historical Society has a presentation about Camp Randall, Civil War II on Wisconsin. It's on Tuesday, April 28th at 6:30 p.m. at Drumlin Reserve. And the speaker is Robert Block. And it's a free event.
The Safe Screens for tweens and their caregivers is on April 30th, and that was rescheduled from last month, and so hope we have a good turnout for that. I know there's a lot of community partners behind that one. Anything else?
Just a reminder, this Saturday is National Drug Take Back. So we'll be in operation from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Come on by and dispose of your leftover medication properly.
And it was a past event, but the e-waste recycle was great on Saturday. It was nice to see Lisa and Cameron and so many of the staff out there. When I showed up at 10, the semi was already a good chunk loaded. So this is definitely something worth repeating. So thanks to everyone who was out there.
All right, future agenda items. I feel like there's a long list for maybe the beginning of May, but we've got the interviews for the comp plan revision, which will be on May 4th. There's a whole bunch of other stuff too. But
My only request is, you mentioned you're going to go over the new laws that have been passed from a legal standpoint. I was just wondering if Aaron could also come at it from a planning standpoint as well and what that might mean for us. If that's okay.
Of course.
anything else for future agenda items?
We will be asking for feedback on the e-cycle event and our bulk disposal program. I know there's been interest by residents on possibly expanding to a bulk item drop-off zone. I had somebody ask about if we would be doing for people who don't have vehicles or seniors, maybe if we have so many slots that people can sign up that we actually go get the items. So just a couple of different things that we'll investigate and bring back to the board.
Were you soliciting feedback from residents or, okay, additional feedback or what that was the feedback? Okay.
Recycling and garbage, people are very passionate about.
Yes. Okay. Otherwise, we have number 10. Trustee Dahl.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second, non-debatable. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.